By the third day on set, Margot Robbie says she started looking around for Jacob Elordi without even realizing she was doing it. Not casually, not playfully. She described it as this uneasy feeling, like something was missing. Like she felt lost when he wasn't nearby. And the moment that clip hit the internet, people stopped talking about Wuthering Heights and started asking a very different question. What is actually going on here? Because this press tour didn't just feel enthusiastic, it felt intimate. And the internet clocked it immediately. Margot openly admitting she developed what sounded like separation anxiety. Talking about how she kept track of where Jacob was on set. Saying it felt wrong filming scenes without him. That's not how actors usually talk about coworkers during promo. That's how people talk when lines start to blur. And the timing made it even louder. This is Emerald Fennell's adaptation of Wuthering Heights, a story built on obsession, emotional dependence, jealousy, and messy love that destroys everyone involved. So when the two leads start sounding emotionally attached in interviews, people don't hear coincidence. They hear life imitating art, especially since the movie was already controversial before the press tour even kicked into high gear. The costume choices alone sparked non-stop arguments online. Fans dragged the styling, saying it felt random, chaotic, like a costume party instead of a period film. Once the trailer dropped, the criticism doubled, so the film was already trending for the wrong reasons. And then Margot and Jacob's chemistry took over the entire conversation. During interviews, Margot didn't just praise Jacob's talent. She talked about attachment, about being codependent on set, about how devastated she gets when projects end. And then she singled Jacob out. She described how he was always nearby, always in her vicinity, almost like he instinctively knew she needed him close. And when he wasn't there, she noticed immediately. Jacob's tone, by contrast, was calmer. More admiration than intensity, which weirdly made Margot's words stand out even more. Because when one person sounds emotionally invested and the other sounds measured, the imbalance becomes the story. Then came the Valentine's Day moment. Margot revealed that Jacob filled her room with roses on Valentine's Day, saying he did it as Heathcliff. And sure, method acting exists. Staying in character exists, but Valentine's Day doesn't care about context. Roses on Valentine's Day are still roses on Valentine's Day. And the way she talked about it didn't sound like a cast bonding exercise. It sounded personal. She described it as epic, thoughtful, dramatic. She said it made her think Jacob would be a really good boyfriend. That single line sent the internet into meltdown mode. Because that's not a neutral compliment. That's the kind of thing people say when they're imagining someone outside the job. And it didn't stop there. In the same conversation, she joked about who won Valentine's Day, sounding genuinely bothered that she hadn't matched his gesture. Again, that doesn't land like coworkers promoting a film. That lands like two people emotionally invested in each other's approval. From there, the clips just kept stacking. Margot saying she hated filming when Jacob wasn't there. Jacob saying the same. Margot admitting she felt something was off when they were separated on set. At one point, she even used the phrase, "he's mine," which immediately triggered headlines calling her territorial, jealous, and codependent. And once those words are out there, you can't pull them back. The internet did what it always does. Clips became memes, quotes became TikToks, comment sections turned into group chats. People started openly asking if Margot was still married. Not because there was confirmation, but because the way she spoke didn't match how people expect married actors to talk about co-stars. Suddenly, you had viral jokes about her husband watching these interviews. Posts saying spouses of actors are God's strongest soldiers. People half joking, half serious, asking how anyone could sit through their partner talking like that on a global press run. Jacob's dating history didn't help either. He's been linked to different people over the years, nothing ever clearly locked in, which makes the internet way too comfortable filling in blanks. So you end up with one actor whose relationship is publicly known, and another who feels like a question mark. That dynamic fuels speculation fast. And then there's the business angle. Margot isn't just starring in this film, she's producing it. Her husband is a producer too, which changes how people interpret everything. Because now every viral moment looks like strategy. Every headline looks intentional. Every blurred boundary looks like marketing. We've seen this play before. Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell. Heavy chemistry. Non-stop rumors. The public convinced something real was happening. Later, it was basically admitted that the energy was leaned into because it worked. It kept the movie trending, it kept people talking. From that lens, this all makes sense. Romance films sell best when people believe the emotion is real. And what better way to do that than letting the press tour feel just a little too honest? But here's where it gets uncomfortable. Strategy doesn't cancel emotion. Even if you start with a plan, you're still human. You still spend months in intense scenes. You still build habits. You still lean on each other. And sometimes the story you're selling starts bleeding into the story you're living. That's why this press tour feels different to a lot of people. It's not just chemistry, it's the specific language. Separation anxiety. Weak at the knees. He's mine. Those aren't neutral phrases, they carry weight. And once the internet grabs them, they turn into something bigger than promo. What's wild is that hardly anyone is even talking about the actual movie anymore. They're not debating performances, they're not dissecting the adaptation choices. They're watching the interviews like episodes of a reality show, convinced something real is unfolding in front of them. Which is almost poetic, considering Wuthering Heights is a story about obsession swallowing everything else. So, what's the truth? It could be simple. Two actors bonded on a difficult shoot. A press run leaned into romance because it sells. Margot is just unusually open about her emotions. Jacob did a dramatic gesture because it fit the character. Or it could be messier than that. Not in a scandal way, but in the very human way where boundaries blur, words slip, and you realize too late that something you thought was harmless now has a life of its own. Because once the internet decides there's a story, you don't control it anymore. And that's the real question this leaves hanging. Even if this is promo, would you be okay with your partner talking like this about someone else? Would you laugh it off as part of the job? Or would it sting a little? And if you're in Margot's position, do you pull back to protect your private life? Or let the conversation run because it keeps the film alive? Calculated genius? Or lines quietly getting crossed? Either way, one thing's clear, this press tour stopped being about a movie a long time ago. And the internet is watching every word like it's part of the plot.